you also about eating right and eating healthy. And to help us with that, we are joined by Dr. Gikonyo. He is a cardiologist and the CEO of Current Hospital. Thank you so much for working time for us. Of course, as a cardiologist, I guess let's start there. What foods are good for the heart? or what kind of habits are good for the heart?
No, first, I'm not the CEO of Current Hospital. Another Dr. Gikonyo is the CEO of Current Hospital. Otherwise, I might lose my job.
Right.
Yeah, 4 Gikonyos in the Current Hospital.
Yes.
Yes.
And one of them
I'm
is
the
also
cardiologist, but one of them is with Dr. Betty Gikonyo.
Yes.
Is the CEO.
Okay.
I'm the cardiologist and in charge of the cardiac department and clinical services.
All right.
So, first, it's a beautiful morning. But again, as I've been doing the last two days, is to give condolences to those people who perished in Naivasha, which is sad. I was actually there. And then to move on and give good cheer to other people. So
the question was about what kind of foods should we take? What is good for the heart? What kind of practices and foods are good for the heart?
Generally, there are things that we advise people to avoid.
Okay.
And food is a wide spectrum. But let's start with my pet subject, which is a food in some way, and that is cigarette smoking. I know I've talked about this many times, but I never get tired of repeating it. We must stop cigarette smoking. It's one of the most dangerous habits that human beings have invented. It's one that has been previously been associated with glamour, but now we know it's a dangerous habit and should be avoided completely. And in this festive season, if you do nothing else, please just do not smoke cigarettes. And as I say, cigarette smoking is learned in childhood. Kids copy their parents, they copy their leaders, they copy their teachers, they copy. So we in position should be the ones to stop smoking first, to give guidance to the children. But they grow up with good habits, health habits. Cigarette is not a food, but because you're talking about general health, we mentioned it first.
What are, maybe before, of course, somebody will be watching and saying, born and asema, what are some of the dangers? I know people hear it a lot, but maybe you can just put it in perspective for us as well.
Of cigarette smoking?
Yes.
Cigarette smoking has many, many dangers. You can speak for a long time, but one of them, as you all know, is the damage it does to the lungs. It damages the lung tissue, so you end up having trouble breathing, a condition in medical terms we call emphysema, and it makes it difficult for you to breathe. Much worse, there are types of cancer in the lungs that are associated with cigarette smoking. But the one that I see most, because I'm a cardiologist, is heart attacks. Heart attacks are the commonest, or cigarette smoking is one of the commonest causes of heart attacks, especially in the young people. If you see a young person who has a heart attack, most likely he's smoking cigarettes, amongst other things like high blood pressure and cholesterol and diabetes. But cigarette smoking is a major contributor to heart attacks. And if you smoke,
no.
If you do, by the time you are 50, 55, you are lucky if you haven't got a heart attack. I can guarantee you it's going to come. So let's avoid it. So heart attacks, lung cancer, lung disease, but more important for men, and which is not talked about, cigarette smoking is one of the major causes of male impotence. And many people who smoke cigarettes, although they don't say it, have problems with their sexual function. But they don't know that the cigarette is causing it. So for men, I tell them, if for one other reason, please stop smoking for that reason, if nothing else.
Yes.
And there are many others, because cigarette smoke has many toxins in it that by virtue of, we're talking about heart attacks, because it damages the blood vessels. It causes, increases the rate of aging. It can even provoke strokes, peripheral vascular disease, where the vessels in the legs and become narrow, and you end up getting poor blood supply to the legs. You get what is called gangrene. And many people who smoke lose their legs. You get amputated because there's no blood going there. And those are just many of the problems that cigarettes do cause.
What about these, the wave of shisha, the shisha smoking? How does that affect? Is it the same or worse? Or
smoke is smoke. In fact, I should say smoke is smoke, not only from cigarettes, but we even have problems, smoke coming from wood fuel in the villages where women who don't have other facilities to cook, or where they live in small houses, they make a fire with the wood fuel. That smoke also damages the lungs. So smoke is smoke. Shisha is bad, because I don't know, I've not done much studies on that, but being a smoke, and sometimes I don't know what other ingredients that are put in that stuff.
Yes.
Let's avoid every type of smoking, whether it's shisha, whether it's cigarettes, even the smoke coming from wood fuel in our houses. Let's make sure that those houses are well ventilated, and let's try to uplift the economic status of our people, so they don't have to cook with that firewood all their lives. They can upgrade to another level of cooking. The women, who are usually the one who do most of the cooking, get to inhale those, and they get in trouble.
Right, even as you go to this festive season, and one of the common things that people like doing is, having some nyama choma and taking some beer as well. Maybe you could also touch on that as we start.
Yeah, we are. We are approaching the festive season. Yes. So to everybody, Merry Christmas and Happy coming New Year. But let's make sure that you have many more Happy Christmases and many more Happy New Years after this, because our health, to a very large extent, depends on what we eat, and what you eat determines your health status. What you eat gives you weight. What you eat can give you other medical conditions. So over this festive season, let us be choosy as to what we eat. Let's start with the nyama choma, because there's a chemical in our body we call cholesterol. Cholesterol is a type of fat that accumulates in the inner linings of our blood vessels and blocks the blood vessels. We all produce cholesterol in our bodies, so we all have cholesterol. Every animal has cholesterol. Even a cow that eats only grass has a lot of cholesterol. Yes. So we all make cholesterol in our body. There are some inborn conditions that children are born with, where they make too much cholesterol, and they end up getting heart attacks by the time they're 10 years.
Wow.
Those are rare. The cholesterol you worry about is the one that you add onto what you already have in your body, the one you get from the food that you take. And beef, mutton, and pork are major sources of that cholesterol. So in this festive season, at all times, please reduce the amount of cholesterol-rich foods that you take: beef, mutton, pork. But let me make it clear. I don't mind you one day enjoying your beef or mutton or pork till you are full, once in a while. That's not the dangerous bit. What is dangerous is habitual eating, on and on and on. So if you are the type of guys who have not had meat the whole year, and here comes Christmas, a lot of meat, enjoy it. It's not going to harm you, that single eating. What we worry about is the continued habitual overuse of rich cholesterol foods like nyama choma, either from cows, beef, mutton, pork. There are safer types of meat, like of course fish and chicken. Those have less cholesterol and they are safer. But life is a question of moderation. There is nothing never, and there is nothing ever. So just be in the middle of the road. Don't be an extremist. Eat healthy. If you're going to have beef, mutton, or pork, make it 2 or 3 times a week, not every day, and not huge portions. And you need that. Eat the less oily, less fatty portions of it, because that you are adding to other types of cholesterol-rich foods. More important, because the habitual thing, is what we fry or cook our foods with. Okay. Because we know that not all fats and oils are dangerous. The most dangerous fats are what we call the hardened fats. They have been now in the limelight in medicine, because we know that those hardened fats, that you get oil and you harden it with hydrogen, becomes hard. Not mentioning any particular brands, but those hardened fats that forms margarines and hard fats and the white fat that you scoop out to go and melt to fry your food, those are dangerous fats. In fact, in medical nutritionists, they advise people, if you're going to fry or cook something with oil, use liquid oil. It's chemically better in the body than the hardened fats that you scoop out of a can and put on the pan to melt, to fry. Those you should avoid.
So it's better to have
there are enough
liquid
studies.
one.
There's enough studies in medicine to show that those are dangerous.
So it's better to have the liquid ones. So you said even margarine. Even margarine. So what the breads and everything as well.
The breads.
The ones you use on the bread, the margarines.
Those things that you spread on the bread. If you are going to have a spread once in a while, in a week or a month, I have no quarrel. But remember, there are some of us who are using those spreads of fat on our bread every day and feeding it to our children. I have to tell you quite honestly, that's a dangerous habit. If you are going to spread something vegetable, spread jam or any of those other things made from fruits, or spread things that are made from plants.
What about peanut butter?
Peanut butter.
Okay.
Yeah, things like those. But these others, in the long term, they are dangerous. Not one serving, not one helping, no. I'm talking about habitual use of those products. That's where the danger comes from.
All right, and then there also other questions about, even the food itself, and even does the storage also affect? Like, for example, we have a habit of putting foods in the fridge for 5-6 days and taking it out and warming it, especially for the meats. And does that affect in any way?
Ideally, I'm not a nutritionist as such. There are people who specialize on nutrition as a subject. But being a doctor and a cardiologist, those nutritional habits are part of medical practice. Food is always best eaten when it's fresh. So you're going to have vegetables, make sure they're fresh vegetables. If they are grains, fresh grains. So long storage is not advised. But of course, if you live in cities and towns, you don't have much of choice of keep food in a fridge for a while. But if it's there for a day or 2 or 3, it's not an issue. We're talking about long refrigerations. If you can get fresh fruits when the components of the nutrients in that food are still fresh, the vitamins, the minerals are always fresh, that's the best. And when you cook, don't overcook, so that you don't destroy all the chemicals that are in there. But now that you talked about foods, let me talk about grains, because that's what we advise people to use a lot. When God created us in the form that we are, He made us suitable for a particular purpose in life. When God creates a lion, He gives it claws on its hands, it gives it sharp teeth, very fast speed, so that it can catch a gazelle and eat it. We are not made like that. I mean, the fact that you cannot run after a gazelle and catch it and eat it tells me that you are not made for that purpose. You have to find other ways, find a panga, find a gun to throw, to catch it. You are using now your head beyond your hands and your body. So our bodies were not made for those things. That we are not carnivorous, ideally. Even our teeth, you look at the teeth of a human being, they are not the particular teeth of a cat or a lion or a dog. They are made for grinding. And our hands and claws are not for tearing fresh from an animal. If I give you a rabbit, I didn't give you a knife, you never eat it. You can't open that skin. You're not supposed to. That's not your nature. God made you with hands that can get fruit from the trees very easily. You can climb a tree, get an orange, get a fruit, and you can eat. You can eat grains, you can grind them. That's what we are. We are made to eat a lot of greens and grains. That's what our bodies are for. So if you follow the habit of eating a lot of grains and fruits and vegetables, you'll live longer. You'll live much healthier. I say that because now when you talk about grains, we are in the habit of taking a grain of maize or wheat and then polishing it white, taking out the kernel inside, the germ inside, and just get the white bit alone and grinding it into flour, and we are selling it as very refined flour. The nutritionists will tell you that is not a healthy habit to eat very refined unga. If you're going to have unga, I'm happy most people live in the villages. If you're going to have unga, have a whole grain unga. The old days I used to go to a local posho meal, have it ground, carry it in your kiodo, go back home, go and make your ugali. That is the best unga. Whole grain. It has the whole husk, it has the kernel inside, and the kernel has a lot of vitamins. That germ inside, a lot of vitamins and other nutrients. The husk also has fiber and has nutrients. So if you are going to eat any type of unga, try as much as possible to make sure it's a whole grain unga. It's the most healthy. It has the vitamins and it has the fiber. It has a bit of roughage. That's on grains. But whatever diet we advise people on, make sure that whatever you eat, there's a large portion of green vegetables. If you go to some hotels and ask for some meal, they'll give you a nice lots of things, nyama there, some shapes, some what. And at a corner they'll put small amount of greens. Maybe as, like an apology, you know, at a corner. If you're going to eat food in your own house, please put 1/3 of that plate. Make it vegetables. Flavor them nice so you can eat them. Sukuma wiki, spinach, cabbage, carrots, tomatoes, green beans. Make that part of your nutrition. That's what we human beings are made for. We are made to eat greens. That's why our hearts are able to pluck those greens from wherever and live healthy that way. Greens and vegetables is what I would advise for Christmas. But of course, as I say, for those guys who have not had meat for a whole year, please enjoy it. It's not going to harm you.
Yes, and also when it comes, there's greens, the grains, the greens, and then you know there's also one of the things that people eat a lot is you know chips, and also and then also a lot of carbohydrates as well. Maybe you can also touch on that and the cholesterol in some of that.
You know, the World Health Organization does surveys all over the country. There are surveys we have of Kenya itself. If you look at Kenya over the last 20 years, and you look at the body weight, the WHO, World Health Organization, has shown that the body weight of Kenyans is increasing the last 20 years. The average body weight is increasing. We are getting fatter. And that is nothing special about Kenya. It's all over the world. The world is getting fatter. There are many things happening in the world that are bad. The world is getting warmer for climate change. The world is getting fatter. Weight comes mainly from... People think about fat. When you see somebody fat, they think it's yamachoma. Most of the people who are overweight because of taking too much starch and sugar. And these actually are hazardous. The more sugar you eat, the more starch you eat, you just bloat out. And therefore we should reduce the amount of sugar we take. In fact, I advise people, if you're having an average diet, you can stop sugar completely, because those are just additional, useless, empty calories that just go into your body to make you bigger and fatter and more hazardous to your health. So I would advise people not to use sugar at all, because if you already had a meal, then you add sugar, those are 2 empty calories. Sugar is dangerous, so reduce as much as possible. And when I say sugar, I mean even these things we are giving children, juices, sodas, and you see a kid has had 2 or 3 sodas in a day. These are dangerous. And I can tell you that the incidence or the prevalence of the sugar disease, diabetes mellitus, diabetes has increased in this country to very large proportions. And part of it, not wholly, is diet.
So the juices?
The juices, soda and sugar.
So the juices as well. What about, you know, there are some that are written fresh, or people who do they make juice at home.
That's a good question, because we should eat fruits, we said, but let us eat whole fruits. If you want to have an orange, take an orange. If you want to have an apple, take an apple. You take a piece of pineapple, take a pineapple. But I don't classify bananas as fruits. Bananas are very rich in they are starch. If you want to get fat again, eat out of bananas. So avoid bananas. You can have 2-3 a week, but if you're going to eat 2-3 bananas a day, you'll gain weight. So let's come to fruits. Eat fruits. You know, if you want to eat a fruit, you can take an orange. But if you take a fruit juice, I can tell you for sure, there's no way you are going to make a glass of juice from a single orange. That means you have to squeeze many oranges to make juice. So when you're drinking that glass of juice, you are taking 3-4 oranges at a go. Again, that's too much. So if you're going to enjoy your fruits, enjoy them as whole fruits, not as scratch juice, because there you are taking a lot of fruits at a go, and they are just going to your system and they are absorbed immediately. If you eat an orange, Try one day to take that orange and squeeze and see how much juice you get out of it. Maybe a small bit in a cup. So that's safe. It may taste sweet, but the amount of juice in it is very little. So let's eat fruits, and let's eat whole fruits, not juices. But sodas, keep them for celebrations once in a while, in a wedding, but avoid giving to your kids sodas every day. That amount of sugar challenges the body so much, and maybe, I don't have the data, but maybe the increase in diabetes in this country is because of the increased sugar consumption coupled with decreased level of exercise. So you are taking so much, not breaking it up, not using it, and therefore the balance is on the high sugar.
When you talked about starch as well, maybe you can also touch and give example, because if somebody might be listening wondering, what is starch?
Starch is carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are foods like potatoes, rice, things made from unga, ugali, uji, chapati, cakes, donuts, mandazi. When you talk about starch and carbohydrates, you're talking about those types of food. Use that moderately, because again, it increase a lot of weight. So the bottom question you ask me, then what shall I eat?
Yes,
you have said all those bad things about those things to eat. We have not even touched about alcohol. Before you come to what you are going to eat, let's talk about alcohol. Because whereas there's no safe level of cigarette smoking. Cigarette is zero. You should never smoke. Even your neighbor should not smoke near you. There's no safe level of cigarette smoking. But there's a safe level of alcohol consumption. There are studies. These days we go by what is called evidence-based medicine, where a lot of studies have been done in medicine. Then there have been recommendations. This is what you should do. On the issue of alcohol, there are studies, medical studies, that show that moderate consumption of alcohol is not dangerous. That means you are having the 7 beers in a week.
7 beers in a week, not in a sitting.
If you're having 7 beers in a week, it is safe. The studies show that if you're having a beer per day, there's no major risk to your health. It doesn't damage your liver, it doesn't damage your gut, doesn't damage your nerves. That's a safe level. About 7 beers a week, which means about 7 glasses of wine per week, about 7 torts of whiskey per week. If you go beyond there, you are going 10, 15, 20, the guy doing that in a setting, it is going to cause you havoc. One, it will raise your blood pressure. That's number one. Number two, it will damage your liver. Alcohol damages the liver in large quantities. 3, it will even make you gain weight. 4, it does damage your nerves, damage your brain. 5, it actually damages your heart. We have seen a condition which we call dilated cardiomyopathy of alcohol, where guys or people who drink a lot of alcohol, the heart just becomes flabby. It is no longer able to pump. It becomes very weak, and instead of pumping like that, it's just moving a little like that. And you go into very bad heart failure. And there is an alcoholic disease that affects the heart, that makes the heart go into failure, and it's very dangerous. It can kill you. But the good news is that if you have cardiomyopathy or heart failure from alcohol, and you stop, it's a recoverable condition. And I've seen it, young fellows out there in the villages who are drinking those hard stuffs. And so alcohol should be avoided in large quantities. But occasional alcohol on a festive season is okay. But of course, even if you are drinking that one beer per day, don't combine alcohol with driving. No. But there's a safe level of that. So now you're asking me, what are we going to eat? I've said all the bad things. What you not? That's a good question. There is enough left to eat. We have talked about the vegetables,
the grains,
and the grains. Then there are other grains like beans and peas. So if you have that mshaganyiko of maize, beans, and vegetables, you can eat it quite healthily. That's why they keep it sweet. It's called githeri. Over generations, we found our grandparents eating that stuff, and we found them there. If that stuff was bad for them, you would not have found them there.
Yes.
The fact that these guys ate that stuff year in, year out over ages, and that's how we came to be, means that it's healthy. It sustained them for generations. So eating whole grains combined with beans and peas and vegetables is a very healthy diet. For this Christmas, I would have advised you to have githeri with a lot of bogas, a lot of carrots, tomatoes, mixed like that. So that type of food. Then of course chicken and fish, especially fish has been found to be good because of the fish oil. It's very helpful. And chicken, again, you can never overeat chicken because although we talk about the skin on the chicken, it's a very small percentage of the chicken you are going to eat. So chicken is safe.
So is it for the broiler or the kienyeji? Which one is?
Again, you know, when you know about the broiler, the kienyeji, I can't say for sure because all the studies have been that all the chicken we'll be talking about are the chicken have been eaten in the villages. But so far, nobody has come out with any data showing that even the new type of chicken that are broilers is more dangerous than beef and mutton. So it is still safer than the others, whichever type you are eating. So there's enough. So, and then of course, starch, eat, but eat in small quantities. So the chapatis are also okay. Bread is also okay, but in small quantities. Even the ugali. I tell my friends when they ask me how much ugali, I say the ugali you can hold in a fist is okay. Close fist, not open fist.
Because if it's open, mine will be different.
Close fist. Same with starch. If it's rice, something you can hold in your hands that day, it's okay. Small portions of starch, generous portions of greens and vegetables, and moderate portions of protein. That's the way we advise. And eat healthy. Even those things we are saying small that you eat, again, if you eat in large quantities, they're also dangerous.
Like a whole chicken.
It's also dangerous. So yes. Moderation is the word. Combine that with some physical activity. Because most of us just eat and we don't want to walk. I see people, I always laugh. You know, I sit at the current hospital, at the entrance there. There's a lift that goes to 3 floors. 3 floors only. First, second, and third. And I sit there and I see people going to the first floor, taking a lift. They are healthy. And some of them are actually overweight already. And you won't take an elevator, a lift to the first floor, or second floor, or third floor. We are becoming too lazy. Walk up those stairs. Everywhere, in a building you go to, I sometimes went to Nyayo House one time, and you walk up to the 10th floor. After all, you are going to see somebody there, and you are going to get there ahead of them. And even if you get there in time, they'll make you wait for another half hour. So what's the hassle? Why hurry going up an elevator to go and sit in an office to wait? You may as well spend that time slowly walking up those stairs and exercising. Because we don't have much time to exercise. We don't have much time to exercise because our duties require that you wake up and go quickly to your office. So if you get to the office and you haven't had time to exercise that morning, walk up those stairs so that you get fit. Also, if you have a chance to walk on the road, walk. But I must warn you, the roads in Nairobi are sometimes not very safe to walk. But I see the city council is doing sometimes a good job. They are making small, nice paths now on the road where people can walk. But that's a challenge we have to give to everybody, even the counties, the government. Please, make it easy for us to walk. You know, we make very nice roads. But remember, the majority of people don't have cars. The people who don't need that road are more. They need a walking path along that road. So for governments and counties, when we are projecting on development of communication, okay, make very nice roads. Please remember that the majority of people will not use that road. They want to walk on it. So make a nice walking path alongside the road. People can walk. In some cities in the world, you go and you find it's very easy to walk around the city because there are walking paths for you to walk around and exercise, also go where you want. But here, if you want to walk sometimes in Nairobi, you'll get hit by a car because the path that is left outside the road is very narrow. It's not even smoothened. There's potholes and hot. So let us, as planners, city planners, let us make pathways for people to walk alongside the roads so that exercise becomes enjoyable and possible. But back to diet.
Right.
So low calories, means low sugar, low fat, a lot of vegetables, fruits and grains. And then you're going to ask me something you have not asked me about. What about salt?
Yes.
Salt has gone through a lot of evolution. A few years ago, we were telling people use as little salt as possible. But now new studies have shown that that advice is not very good also. We don't want to go off salt completely, because low salt in the body is also a health hazard. It has been shown that people who don't eat salt at all, if you reduce it too much, you are more likely to have some cardiovascular problems of low salt. So what's recommended these days is just use average salt. Not too much salt, but just average. Average salt is like anything about 3 grams of salt per day.
That's 3 grams, like a pinch.
A piece of salt, yeah. Or let's use it. What ordinary people use for cooking, it's okay.
Yes.
What is bad about salt is adding salt to food already salted. Yeah. But salt is not as a major issue as we used to think these days, as much as we used to say in the past. But we just say moderate salt. But we no longer say no salt, because no salt also can become hazardous. So average salt, don't add too much. And but if you have high blood pressure, for example, if you moderate salt, it is known to reduce your blood pressure. But moderate to low salt, but not no salt.
All right, then there's some questions here also. The last, we'll take a couple of questions. We have a Kipiego Nrono on Twitter is asking, ask the doctor about if there are any types of healthy sodas, especially the ones that say diet. And then there's also a question about how many hours you eat before you sleep. And then the quantity of water. Is there something like too much water that somebody should take?
Rono is a clever chap. Those are good questions. First question is, when should you eat? Well, there are studies also that show that if you want to have a good sleep at night, avoid a heavy meal in the evening. And it's you can understand it, because when you go to sleep, you want your body to rest. But if you stuff a lot of food in your stomach, your body is not going to rest. You have given the body some job to do. It must digest that food. It must direct it in the systems. The brain must be active. Your hormones must be active. So if you eat a heavy meal just before you go to sleep, you are giving your body some chemical work to do at night. So light meals in the evenings. So if you want to have a good meal, have a good breakfast, and a good meal in the middle of the day. Avoid heavy meals in the evenings, because that interferes with your quality of sleep, and the body needs to rest. Total rest, not only physically, but even chemically. You don't have to do a lot of digestion and metabolism at night. Give the body some rest. So the best time to eat is morning and midday, and very small with a small meal at night, which of course is the opposite of what many people do. Most people are in the restaurants having a heavy meal at night. That's how the culture is. But we need to dissolve that culture, that we take light meals in the evening. The other question was about water. Water, the best answer is your body knows when it wants water. So don't deny yourself water. If you feel thirsty, drink water. But don't overdo water, because there is no data again that shows that what you are trying to take out of water has any major benefit. And moderation, and let your body guide you. So if you're having some water with your meal, having some water and you're thirsty, go on. But don't just take water for the sake of water, because you take water without being thirsty. There's no scientific data show that drinking out of water is healthy. But there's data saying that if you don't take water when you require it, it's dangerous. If you're out working in the field and you're sweating a lot, you require more water. And the body will tell you that you need water. So if you're going to do that, you carry some water with you, because you need some water out there in the field when you're sweating, so that you have it at arm's reach. You can take it when you need it. But if you're not thirsty and you're sitting in an office and you're just drinking water, there's no scientific basis that water is going to help you in any way.
Right, and the final question was about if the sodas that are written diet.
Oh yes.
Or something. And the gums that are written sugar-free. Those I have to be very careful, because sometimes I don't know how much of that advertisement is real. But I'm not going to that. If you're thirsty,